the first thing we're going to take tonight is Department of Public Works. We're going to go a little bit out of order. You have the floor, Mr. Faree. Just tell us what page.
Public Works starts on page 110. I'm assuming that all we really want to do is go over the increases in the proposed budget.
Yeah, I think the changes is what you want to concentrate on.
Okay.
Probably everyone.
Not feeling good tonight.
All right.
You can have a meeting with Ms. Crary a little bit later on.
Thank you, sir. The first change I had in this budget is on page 121, which would be the automotive maintenance. We increased the parts by 4,700 based on increase into the fleet and cost increase for purchasing parts.
That's based on history.
Yes. Yeah, most of the automotive parts were being told because of the newer cars, the technology. It's more expensive to replace the parts.
And we're doing most of the repairs ourselves, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And colleagues, feel free to ask him any questions as he goes along. Go ahead.
Will that require upgrade in some of our equipment as these become more modern?
Yes, what we've done is working with Kevin's department for the scanners and stuff that we have to have now, so we can able to hook up to the onboard computers, tell us exactly what's going on with the vehicles. We also now they have these tire monitors that tell you when there's low pressure.
Yep.
And what the dealerships have done, or the manufacturers, is they've set it where you can't just go in and fix them. You actually have to have a tool, a scanner, to go in and reset the systems. So
all cars coming with TPS on them now. Taxpayer monitoring systems.
Correct.
All of our police cars have that, the new ones?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Next change would be on page 129 for the recycling program. Presently, the cost of having to take our recycling, there's no market right now to purchase the stuff, and we're having to pay to actually the tipping fees. As the city has grown, we're also having to cover more yard waste and getting a lot more tires and a lot more recycled materials. So there's been an increase in that line item of actually $43,500.
We don't charge for yard waste.
That's correct. Anything under 3 inches.
Air conditioners, televisions, correct?
Correct.
Refrigerators, stoves. And why is there no market at all for the recyclables? I mean, just everything, just the bottom fell out of the market?
Yeah, basically there for a while where they were buying a lot of the glass and a lot of the aluminum and stuff. Yeah, there's no market for anything at this point. It's very small, if anything.
Okay. Is it a cyclic problem where you think it might come back?
Well, we're hoping that it will come back, yes, but there's probably no guarantee that we can see, and I can't get an answer from anybody that could really give us something concrete on whether it will pick up or whether it will actually get worse.
Now, are the tipping fees for weight the same for the recyclables as it is for Prince George's County dump?
No. Prince George is usually, we're paying about $59 a ton, and over at Kit Kat Road, it's running anywhere. It can fluctuate from $20 up to $35.
Okay, so they're making something on the recyclables. We're just not seeing any benefit of that.
That's correct.
They've got to pay for their operation over there.
That's correct.
All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Free.
The next change was on page 133, which is highways and street maintenance. taking over several of the streets here, Brooklyn Bridge Road, Sandy Spring, West Side, Haynes Road, I had to do an increase in being able to, do various maintenance on those streets. On page 136, the snow removal, basically from taking over the streets, we've increased the salt, sand, and calcium to be able to cover 5 storms. And we did an increase in the equipment maintenance. Basically, every vehicle that we buy now, we try to outfit with plows and or salt spreaders so that we can cover the city in an efficient time. Yes, sir.
The other day, as you may remember, I took something down to have it sandblasted and repainted, if you will. And is that something that we do with the salt spreaders and things like that in order to extend the life of the equipment? Is that something we have done?
Basically, we've done that many times. The sandblaster that we were using to do this actually died a year ago, and we just now purchased a new one, and we will, start to use them again to sand down the salt spreaders and put them back together. A lot of the inserts that we're buying nowadays are plastic, so that way there is no, parts that are being rusted away. We tried them on the large trucks, but if the salt gets wet and then it freezes, it locks up the spreaders. So what we've done is most of all the small trucks have them so that they can all be parked inside so that I don't have that problem.
So is that something that you would look to use, or are you telling me that it's not something that would be beneficial?
Actually, we are, we just got a new sandblaster, and that's what we're intending to do, is to sandblast the metal parts of the salt spreaders so that they can be reused. A lot of times what we're finding is that our trucks last longer than the salt spreaders due to the fact the amount of salt that's put through them, they rust out quicker than the trucks, no matter how many times you sandblast them and paint them.
Okay.
The best thing we can do with those, Rob, as you're well aware, is clean them after every use.
Which we do.
I am, and I see them doing that, but I just, for the ones that do get caught up, I just was wondering if that was something that we would consider using in order to get an extended out.
No, I'd just like to remind them that every time we use them, they clean them.
That's correct. We just bought another pressure washer to do so, too.
Thank you, Mr. Free.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. Good, Rob.
All right, the last change was on page 145 for traffic engineering. I increased the pavement markings based on the getting additional streets that we now have to maintain. Overall, I believe I calculated it, our budget actually did go up by just a little over 2%.
That's overall in your department, 2%.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any questions of Mr. Free on the DPW budget?
Just one.
Go ahead.
Laurel Bikeway. Is that what we had seen before? Okay. Nothing.
All right, Ms. Gray?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Free. We'll now move to Department of Communications. Audrey, if you just give us the page that you start with.
Evening, Chairman, President Liz.
Let me turn this on. The narrative for the Department of Communications budget is on page 59. The budget details begin on page 63. This overall budget proposal reflects an increase of 3 auxiliary production assistants and all associated costs with their hiring. I'm using auxiliaries in lieu of independent contractors to assist with field shoots, studio work, and government meetings. This is account 51021. There is an increase in overtime reflected in this proposal as well, primarily because my technical director frequently stays in the evening to help broadcast government meetings and to help with other weekend field and studio shoots. This is account 51032. There is also an additional increase in the budget as a result of the Communications Department purchasing extended warranties for our TriCaster video switcher. That is the workhorse of the Laurel TV operation, and there is an extended warranty that we have to purchase yearly to make sure that it is maintained properly. We also purchased extended warranties for some of the equipment in the council chamber, including several of the cameras that have been replaced over the last year. The total increase in the budget is about $22,000.
Mr. President.
Ms. Smalls.
Audrey, could you talk to us a little bit about programming and how programming is selected and whether there, with any of the programming, there are any charges or fees that are associated with it?
What we do is we've established relationships with the Alliance for Community Media, and they have a huge resource bank of free, domain-free, copyright-free materials that we can download as members of that alliance. That's the alliance that represents cable and public access stations across the country. So we get most of our programming through the Alliance for Community Media Resources. And the other big bulk of our content is locally generated. We've established a college internship program. I had 2 University of Maryland students take part in our pilot program with their college. It was very successful, and I've been told that we have been approved to continue to maintain 2 college interns every semester with the University of Maryland. And also, because of that partnership with UMD, Anne Arundel Community College has also agreed to help us solicit interns for that from the community college. So we're getting resources from our interns, and we also have a vigorous volunteer program. I used 50 volunteers this year. We produced 70 individual stories on the streets of Laurel using college interns, volunteers, our staff, including myself, to produce that material. And we also did 6 special reports, including a report on Zika, financial aid, and the Main Street Festival.
I think the programming is excellent.
Thank you.
I do tune in and watch. In terms of volunteers or interns, do you reach out at all to our high schools, Pilates or Laurel? Because I know they both have some type of communications, TV production, and that sort of thing. I was just curious. If
I was at Laurel High School last week meeting with the new head of the broadcast course curriculum, the man who took over for Bob Giuliani, and we're going to really kick up that partnership. Mr. Palumbo at Pilates High School has also been a part of our programming over the last year and is very excited about helping us continue to publicize his stories and use some of his students to produce content.
Okay, great. Thank you. Great job. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Any other questions?
I have any questions, but I do like to
Congratulate the fine job you did on the piece with Kim Rao. I thought that was an excellent job. Really.
Thank you very much, and I want to
Kim looked really good.
Thank you.
I want to pat my 2 guys that worked on that, who are here tonight broadcasting this work session. John Sennett is directing the broadcast of this work session, and also Ed Thomas, my technical director, is back there in the control room right now, helping us keep this programming on the air tonight as well. So hats off to them for that.
Thank you, staff.
Yep.
Thanks, Audrey. Okay, we'll move to emergency services. Steve? You have the floor.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. President, Council. I'm pleased to present to you the emergency services budget for the first time. It starts on page 106. The emergency services budget is pretty well stayed status quo. As you look through the different line items, there's only been some pretty significant increases in 5 specific line items. The first one, 5207 for technical services. We've had an increase there due to the purchase of our Rhodium ICS software suite. This is a command and control suite that we will use on any incidents within the town to help us better control the situation. It's a very robust, very user-friendly system that we hope that will greatly improve our command and control functions within the Emergency Operations Center. The second line item that we had a pretty significant increase in was 52020 outside services, and the reason for that was that the river monitor maintenance that the DPW had has been shifted over to the emergency services budget, and also the code red notification system that was in communications has shifted over to my budget now. And both of them systems are very important systems for us to use. The next line item that had a significant increase was 52539. And the reason for that is it's about $4,500 increase, and that's what we're using some funds to enhance our EOC. As all of you probably are aware of, we're in the middle of rehabbing the EOC, and we're getting newer, updated equipment for that, printers, faster printers, and some other equipment that we'll use that funding for. The next line item, we have another significant increase, is 52565, uniform accessories, and this is due to a request from the police department to purchase gas mask canister replacements and ballistic helmets and ride helmets, that personal protective equipment for our officers in case of special incidents. The last but not least item, there has been a small increase in our training line item 53180, and that's due to our increase in both regional with Prince George's County, our web EOC training, our CERT training, and our also training for the individuals that are responsible to staff the positions within the Emergency Operations Center. As an added note, the funds for the Laurel Volunteer Fire Department and the Laurel Volunteer Rescue Squad has remained the same. The funding for the Emergency Services Commission has remained the same. That's all I have right now, and I'll entertain any questions.
Questions for Steve? Let me ask a question, Steve. Will the legislation, the dam legislation that was passed by the legislature, have any impact on our river monitoring processes?
As far as I know, no.
Okay. And part of that is, of course, that every dam structure has to have a safety plan. Do they share that with you?
Yes, sir, they do.
WSSC?
Yes, sir, they do.
Okay. Right, any questions?
I'm sorry, Mr. President, just to let you know, probably at least once every 2 weeks we're meeting with WSCC on various projects involving the reservoir and the dam.
Okay. Questions of Steve? Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Move to Office of Fire Marshal and Permit Services. Mr. Cope, you have the floor.
Good evening. My budget does not require any increase. Our budget is status quo. I'm sorry, what? Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Page 101 and 102 is our budget. There is no increase in our budget. What we did was we reallocated money. We moved money from the electrical services. We moved money out of that and transferred that money back into the fire protection engineering services. So the budget remained the same. It would just transfer the money in a different category. And other than that, there was no other changes in our budget.
Are we contracting out any electrical inspections?
No, sir. Prior to about a month ago, I only had one electrical inspector, and through the process of hiring, we were able to bring a second master electrician on board to do another part of his job. So he agreed to fill in when the electrical inspector is off, and that's what this budget was originally for, is to supply him when he was off.
So our inspections are all done in-house now?
All in-house, sir.
Okay. Questions of Mr. Cope?
No questions from me.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Cope.
Okay.
Department of Economic and Community Development.
Good
You have
evening.
the floor.
Good evening. How's everyone doing? The Department of Economic and Community Development, the budget overview starts on page 65 and expenditure information starts on page 69. Most of the budget is pretty status quo. However, the department is requesting $10,000 for economic development efforts. This funding source was previously approved with the economic development officer position that was housed in another department. Now we currently have the economic development coordinator in our department, so we're asking for those funds to be put back into our department. Thank you.
Okay, questions?
Someone must have said be brief.
I'm waiting for you to speak up.
I was informed I didn't have to say anything, but then I was told different, so.
You all right, Fred?
No, I don't have any questions.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to do Parks and Recreation, and then we'll get to the police department.
Good evening. I'll try to be as brief, though we do have a number of budgets. The 501 budget starts on page 166. That's the Recreation Administration budget. The biggest change that you'll see in this budget will be the addition of line item 52624. That's the Youth Service Commission distribution that has been moved into this budget. That is for the grant program for the youth services. The remainder of the budget has remained the same. The next.
How much, before you go on, how much we distributed this year?
To date,
yes.
I believe it's 10,000. I believe we're at 10,000.
Okay. How much have we budgeted?
Oh, we've budgeted 25,000.
Okay. And when we have an open period for applications, we'll let people know they've got to go through an application process.
They do. Twice a year we have
right.
we have the application process. We just gave 2 grants, I guess about a month ago, for $5,000 each. Mm-hmm. But yes, there is a process. The commission has done a great job of encouraging people to contact them if they need assistance with going through that process. I believe it has become easier as both the commission has gone through it and some of our youth groups have gone through it as well.
Okay, excellent. Any questions on that part of her budget? Go ahead.
Okay, our next page is 171, 172. That's the recreation budget. What you will see through all of our budgets in our auxiliary and recreation salaries is the adjustment for the increase in minimum wage. So that has changed. In the 505 budget, the recreation budget, we had a $1,600 addition to 52804, which is our special events budget, and that is for additional programs at the new Emancipation Park Amphitheater. But we did also have a reduction in line item 52809, which is our youth sports program. We had a $6,000 reduction, and that's basically looking at the use from the past several years and determining that we could move some money out of that. Any questions on that?
Since you're talking about Emancipation Park, I've gotten 3 questions this week. When are they going to let the water squirt?
Mr. Bailey can answer that.
We haven't had that set up yet.
Yeah.
Still waiting for them to come out. It's going to be a summer feature, so
Yeah, I understand.
more or less the pool schedule.
Well, we're not, hold on a minute, just so I understand it, that when we had this conversation, that is not something that'll be on all the time.
That is correct. It will be on a schedule of use,
Right.
whether it's noon to 2 or a time during the day, because as we had discussed, it is not a aquatic playground.
Right.
The water, every time we turn it on, the water runs like it runs through your hose. It's not recirculated back into the feature.
There's a water cost associated with.
Yes, that is correct.
We don't want kids running through it.
That is
but
correct.
Actually, the 3 people that asked me want to take their kids over there and sit and watch it. Whatever that means, I haven't figured that out. Okay. I guess there's some satisfaction.
You have to activate it.
Yes.
It will be a pressure plate.
Yeah.
So you'll have to step on a pressure plate, and it'll run for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
At that time. And once that happens, then yes, it'll do like a back.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a watch.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, any other questions on the recreation? Okay, our next page 175, which is the 501 municipal pool program budget. The only change we have in this budget is the addition in the 61010 equipment acquisition. That was not in last year's budget as we pre-purchased those items. These are for the purchase of 2 chemical feeders and replacement deck chairs. The chemical feeders are actually a compliance item, so we do replace those so that we are mandated to have backups of those chemical feeders in the event that your current feeder goes down. It has to immediately be replaced in order to keep the pools filtering and chemicals running to the pools. Anything else on the?
Any questions on the pools?
What about the old people ramp?
The old people ramp, the ramps will be functional. We've done some repair. We are looking perhaps next year at maybe replacing them. They'll be working.
Thank you.
And they're for everyone's use. Okay.
Thank you.
Next would be.
Could I ask you, the furniture that you're replacing, is it a matter of, something that could be sandblasted and restrapped? As opposed to
most of these are plastic chairs. They are cleaned at the end of the season. We don't throw them out just for being dirty. They're usually, if they're broken and beyond repair. Yeah, they are very heavily used. So, and we don't do a one-for-one replacement. We try and continue to increase our inventory as we never have enough chairs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next would be page 178. That's the DePietro Center, and we actually don't have any changes to that budget.
Okay.
So next would be page 181. That would be the Greenview Drive program budget. And similar to the municipal pool budget in the 61010 equipment acquisition, the same thing, the chemical feeders and the chairs, deck chairs.
Okay.
Okay, next would be page 184, the Armory Community Center program budget. The only addition we had here was an additional $600 in the 52306, and that is actually for the fitness equipment maintenance contract and any items for the new fitness equipment that wouldn't be covered under the contract. Okay, next we have page 187. It's the Goody Lake House program. We actually have a reduction of $110 in the 52304, and that is previously for cash register maintenance, but now that we are out on the active network software system, we have no need for a cash register. So that maintenance went away. And then the final recreation budget is on page 190, and that would be the senior service budget, and we don't have any changes. So next we go to our facilities and grounds.
Do we still get a grant from Park and Planning?
We do. We still receive 4 grants from Park and Planning.
Okay, excellent.
Before you go on, I do have 1 or 2 questions. I'm not sure which one of these budgets it will fall into, but Teen Club. I'm just interested in, how that's going in terms of participation and that sort of thing.
The Friday Night Teen Club?
Yes.
It's an ongoing program. It's still very active, and that's at the DePietro Center. However, the funding for that goes through the recreation budget, and that's essentially for staff, for concession items, for any kind of activities that we're really going to provide. It's been a very successful program.
Now, how about the after-school program? Has there been any expansion in the hours or anything like that?
Well, it's difficult for us to expand the hours, mainly because the time that school gets out, it runs into then our evening program hours. So we offer as much as we possibly can based on when the schools get out. As well, during spring break and winter break, we do open it up during the daytime hours so that we have activities where individuals can come in and use their membership cards and participate during the daytime hours. They can use their cards on Saturday as well to come in. So it's not, their membership is not solely used just for the after-school program. Any other time that we have available gym time, we do open it up for youth and teens to come and play.
And what are those hours, Joy?
I believe they're different at both centers, but they're somewhere around 2:30 to 6, depending on when the schools get out. The schools on this side of town tend to differ than on the other side of town. So we have time set aside specifically for 7 to 12-year-olds, and then we have time for 13 to 17-year-olds.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Any other?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. President, I just wanted to point out that throughout the recreation budget, in the footnotes, are notations of where expenditures are provided, the funding is provided with the Park and Planning money. Joanne and her folks have referenced the corresponding revenue accounts for that grant throughout the 500 series departments.
You have to reapply for those grants every year.
We do, yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so our facilities and grounds budget starts on 196. And throughout this budget, you'll see that we do have reductions, and primarily those large reductions are falling in the area of energy. They are from reductions due to the LED lighting projects, as well as the reduction in costs for electric. When we signed our contract, our 2-year contract with Internoc, we did realize a reduction in that cost, so it is reflected in the budget, as well as a reduction in the propane cost. So we were able to fund some other areas and still give back a significant amount of money as a result of those savings. So the 280 budget, that's the grounds maintenance. We have $4,000 in additional in 52020, and this is for winterization of the water feature, as well as the a contract for maintenance contract for the irrigation system at Emancipation Park. Then in 52040, an additional $600 for a portalet at the Greenview tennis courts. When the high school is over there using the courts for their spring tennis season, we provide a portalet for them. In 52202, $1,000 for water feature water use. We don't have any history yet, obviously, so it's undetermined as to how much additional water we will be using. So this is a starting point for anticipating that we will have some additional water use. 52321, $1,500 for backflow inspections at Emancipation Park. And Bill, if I'm not correct, I think there's 3 at that park that need to be inspected. 52324 is for additional landscaping, both in Emancipation and other areas around the city. 52522, $1,000 for additional janitorial, the dog waste bags at Emancipation Park. And 61010, $1,700 for hedge trimmers, push mowers, and items that we use for all our grounds maintenance for the parks, for the right-of-ways for around the city. Any questions on? Geese Police has not changed. We still have that program. They come every month, except during the summer months when the geese molt. They're not able to fly off. So we suspend that service, and it will start again in September.
I know they're doing the job.
Yeah, it's very effective. Oh, okay. Okay, next. I'm sorry.
I have a question from the mayor. Mayor, have we ever tried to harness the printing that we do here in the city into one contract?
I think we looked at it at one time. It's been a while, but I think we're doing most of our printing inside except for probably Joanne's and probably Audrey's. But you're even doing a lot in-house too, aren't you, right? Because we're not doing a lot of bulk stuff. We're doing it as we need it. And I guess police department would be the other one that has probably the most. But we haven't looked at it in a while. There was really, my memory serves me right, not a lot that we could really save when we looked at it last time, but we can look at it again.
Our largest printing need is really our brochure, which we do send out in order to get that particular type of product, that particular type of newsprint, and then they also provide the mailing for it. So.
The reason I'm asking is because I see printing in pretty much every department, and I just thought if it was possible just to kind of bulk it together and maybe see if somebody would like to bid on it. And we certainly have the experience to know what it costs us now. Another reason is because I just had an experience where the council did something and I thought the price that we paid was pretty exorbitant.
Okay. So the next budget would be on page 200. That's the 281 Municipal Center budget. Line item 52201, we had a reduction of $6,000 due to the LED savings. And then the electrical contract that we signed from Internoc. Then 52302, $500 for the fire monitoring service. And then 52522, an additional $1,500 for janitorial needs. Any questions? Okay. Okay, next would be page 203. That's the 804, or excuse me, 284 Public Works. 52201, a $2,800 reduction due to the electric, obviously the reduction in electric. 52203, $10,000 reduction due to the reduced cost of propane, and then an additional $500 in 52302 for fire monitoring. Okay, page 207, the community center, Petro Community Center. In 52020, an additional $500 for the cost of gym floor resurfacing. The cost for that we've done every year has gone up. 52203, reducing $9,000 for the lower propane costs. 52319, an additional $500 for the maintenance contract for the new bleachers, the electronic bleachers. 52522, an additional $500 for janitorial, and 52562, a reduction of $500. We don't have rental uniforms. We purchase them all. Page 210. The Armory Community Center. 52302, a reduction of $850 for alarm maintenance that's now covered by the police department. 52522, an $800 additional janitorial increase. 52561, $400 for custodian uniforms, and 52564, $100 for custodian boots. This is for now we have a full-time custodian at that site. Okay.
I have a question.
Mr. Smalls.
Armory. Has there been any discussion about seating in the Armory for spectators? Those little small bleachers are all we have, and then for events I've attended, athletic events, basketball particularly, there are a bunch of folding chairs around.
There are, and we have talked about it. One of the issues that we have at the Armory is a complete lack of safe space around the court.
Yeah.
It's difficult to place people anywhere in that facility for a sporting event.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to put it out there on the table because I know I've heard when I've attended sporting events there, some of the folks who are there have just made comments about nowhere to really sit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remind them to bring their chair because they can go on the outside, but there is no room for, like at the other places, to do platform seating.
Yeah.
It's got to be on that backside.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it essentially
put some chairs. That's why I tell everybody.
It essentially goes right down into the court, and in most gymnasium there is an actual calculation for safe space around your athletic court, and depending on what type of, mostly we have basketball, but we don't meet that at that site.
Of course, and I anticipated your answer would be exactly what it is. I mean, I've spent a lot of time there, and I understand, but I thought for the record I would just ask. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Laurel.
Okay, we'll skip the museum. There's no change in the 287 museum budget, so we can go right to page 216. That would be Goody Lake House, and this is an additional $500 in 52522 for janitorial, and then in 61016 table replacement, or excuse me, 61010 table replacement for that site. It's heavily used for rentals, and tables are always at a premium. So our next budget is on 219, the municipal pool. The only addition is in 52539, and that's an additional $2520 for cartridges. Again, these are typically in this budget. They were taken out last year as they were pre-purchased, so we're just putting them back in this year's budget. And they're the filter cartridges. Page 222. Which is the Police Department Public Safety Complex. For licensing, 52023, we reduced that by $325. We are no longer required by Prince George's County to have a health permit, as that facility does not meet the standard for, it's basically a catering hall. So we were able to reduce that. 52522, additional $500 for janitorial supplies. Okay, next, page 226, Greenview Drive. Again, the 522, $500 for janitorial, and 52539, $816 for the cartridges and filter parts. Okay, and then finally on page 229, that would be the Parks and Recreation Maintenance Facility. We have a $1,000 reduction in 52201 for electric, an $800 addition to 52202 for water use, a $500 increase in 52329 for emergency repairs, and 52522 additional $500 for janitorial. So overall, our operating budget saw a reduction of $14,739.
I don't have any questions for her, but Mayor, could we get a total figure? I mean, I can do it, of how much we're saving on the electricity for now that we've converted over, and use that in some of our information that we send out to the public?
We can do that. And we are continuing to investigate new ways of saving on electric, new contracts. Various companies have come in and provided us with information. So we are looking at trying to realize even more savings once this contract is up.
The LED lights, not just the electrical saving, but saving on the maintenance.
Correct.
Do not replace them.
I'm thinking about all our savings. I mean, we've spent the money in order to save, and we are saving, so I think it's important for us to, you know, be able to tell the public what we are saving.
I agree. Okay, you get back to the council office with that
Sure.
figure. Appreciate that. Okay. Save the best to last. The police department. Chief, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening. Our narrative starts on page 79. Our budget actually, the line items start on page 9090. And I'm just going to address what our increases, decreases, anything that is staying the same. So line item 51012, which is on page 90, it's listed as salary sworn. That is the specialty or the incentive pay that is part of the collective bargaining agreement, and that is an increase of $22,500. Line item 51032, overtime regular, a decrease of $11,254. That is based on, that is our civilian overtime, and that is based on the fact that we are now fully staffed, completely staffed in communications and records, which has diminished or reduced significantly our overtime because we were having to pay people to be there. 51033, sworn overtime, will remain the same. 51034, which is holiday overtime regular, again, that is our civilian employees, an increase of $880. That is based on the pay increase as agreed through the collective bargaining agreement. 51035, holiday overtime sworn, will remain the same. That's because we were working 5 squads of 9. We are now working 6 squads of 8, so we took a reduction in actual staffing as far as the amount of people that were paying the overtime. 51038, which is shift differential, a decrease of $2,172. Again, that's because of the shift realignment and the amount of staffing that's working the overtime shifts that are allowed for shift differential. 52020, outside services, an increase of $990. This is a pass-through. This is based on our civilian fingerprinting that we do. It's basically we charge whatever fees the state requires or the feds require. They bill us, so it's a pass-through, and we've had a lot of interest in that. We've had a lot of people come through to get fingerprinted. 52024, red light camera processing, an increase of $344,822. That is due to the amount of citations that are being issued and the fact that we are collecting about 78% of all violations that are out there. 52052, subscriptions, and this is on page 91, I'm sorry. An increase of $255. That is our search and seizure law books, Maryland Annotated Code, MVA books, and IACP. All of them have increased as far as the billing or the amount paid for each item. 52081, which is a brand new item, books and publications. That's an increase of $4,275. That is for the purchase of promotional study guides as agreed in the collective bargaining agreement. 52319, maintenance other, an increase of $5,000. As I discussed earlier this year, we had increased the amount of storage for evidence.com, which resulted in a $5,000 increase. We probably are going to have to rediscuss that later this year due to the fact that under the tort claims law, changing from 180 days, it's changed to 366 days. We're going to change our retention period, which is going to cause an impact, financial impact. 52319, maintenance other. Sorry, we just discussed that. 52412, per diem, an increase of $560. That's so that we can start attending MML and other conferences. 52422, hotel and travel. Again, that's for the MML conferences and other conferences. And that was an increase of $1,150. 52429, travel other, $500. That's an increase of $300 due to officers paying for parking, tolls, and other things that they're doing during training and other events. 52449, conferences and conventions. That's an increase of $1,065. Again, that's MML and other assorted conferences and conventions. On page 92. 52533, ERT supplies, an increase of $1,500. That is based on replacement of weapon lights, and as you're aware, we purchased pepper ball launchers. We now need to buy cases for those. 52561, a decrease of $5,000. That is, we have reevaluated our uniform purchasing, and we've decided we can reduce it by $5,000. 52564, shoe allowance, a decrease of $900. Per the collective bargaining agreement, we alternate between SWAT and bike officers that get a second pair of shoes. This year it's bike officers, and there's a significant reduction in the amount of officers involved. 52565, uniform accessories, an increase of $2,677. What we're trying to do is we're trying to increase the amount of uniforms and accessories that are available through the quartermaster for newer officers so that we're not waiting to get deliveries on uniforms. We'll have some on the shelf that we can give them at least temporarily. 52574, special ammunition, an increase of $4,959. That is because all our flashbang ammunition has expired and it needs to be replaced. Pepperball ammunition for training and the taser cartridges have, or they've changed the process for recertification. Officers could practice with 1 round. Now it's 2. 2 cartridges are required for recertification. And that would conclude my report.
Questions of the chief?
For item 5257 special ammunition.
Yes.
You said some of it expired. What is the shelf life on it?
Flashbangs are the explosive, they're distractionary device that the SWAT guys use. It has an expiration date. Usually, I want to say the shelf life is about 5 years. So if it's not used and deployed for training purposes and or real incidents, it expires, it has to be replaced.
I ask the same thing every year. Are we still getting a grant for vests?
We are. We alternate. Most of it's under Mr. Fleming's budget, or I'm sorry, Mr. Allen's budget. We alternate yearly. We are eligible for GOCAP, which is the governor's office, and we're also eligible for DOJ's. I believe it's under the Burn grant. I'm not sure which grant it falls under, but it's a DOJ, and it's only available every other year.
Right. And the so all of our officers' vests are current.
Absolutely. We have a 5-year replacement period.
Okay. What do we do with the old ones?
Destroy them.
We don't want the liability if somebody else should put them on.
That's correct. They are they're deemed unusable after 5 years. And basically what we have been doing is we've been taking them when we do the drug burns up in Baltimore, and they're part of the destruction process.
Okay. And the officers, the sworn officers' sidearms are all current?
Oh, yes, sir.
How often do we replace those?
As needed.
Okay. And if something malfunctions, we don't have an armorer here, do we?
We do. We have several that are armorers of all of our weapons.
Okay, so they can repair them.
They can, and if it's something that needs to be ordered, it's something that they can't fix, we have extras on hand.
Okay. Any additional questions for Chief?
Yes. Thank you. 10-5-301, page 93, or have you discussed that yet?
I'm not sure which.
61020.
Oh, the over-under? We certainly can discuss that, sure. The we are replacing or requesting replacement in the amount of $852. 3 research desks for the squad rooms to replace existing desks that are falling apart. Those were original equipment that went in when we moved into the building, and they definitely need to be replaced. And that is for the 3 desks, it's $852. It's $284 each. We are also requesting the helmets, Protect Delta helmets for the SWAT team, because it's time to replace some of the helmets, the ballistic helmets and the non-ballistic helmets. We have ballistic helmets, which are the armored helmets for real-life incidents. We utilize non-ballistic helmets for training and or civil disturbance issues. And those are $386 each. We're asking for 6 in the amount of $2,316. And then the over 500 are 5 defensive tactics mats that we would like to purchase to have available in our training facility or the Partnership Activity Center. Currently what we are doing is we're dependent on the availability of either Pilati or another training venue for our defensive tactics training, which sometimes becomes an issue. We'll schedule it and there's some type of scheduling conflict. That is $5,195. And we are also requesting a breaching saw, again, used to breach doors and get into buildings a SWAT operation, $1,785. I'm sorry, I overlooked that.
No, no. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Chief? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Michelle, do you have any other changes to the budget portion that you want to let us know about?
No, sir.
Okay. Michelle?
I do have it. Did you get that, Kim? Okay.
That's CIP, we don't have pie chart. You're gonna get copies, Kim. Thank you. Take a breather for a minute, Michelle.
Okay.
What do you hold it? Just the CIP? All right. Start with the CIP, Michelle. What page are you on?
Excuse me, the project pages begin, they're actually numbered differently. F1 provides the page numbers. The other spreadsheets that you were provided today, the first should be the FY 2018 CIP projects by category. So while on the ordinance to adopt the budget 1914, it has the listing of all the projects basically by funding source. But as you can see, when you summarize them by category, we have $380,000 worth of information technology and communication for updates to the network base map. That's city facility security for $60,000. Continuation of the fiber installation, the radio project, and then I also grouped the vehicle technology for the police department vehicles in this group as well. And the majority of the the funding is from PEG, public safety surcharge funds, and the speed camera net revenue. The next group is the public safety funding for a total of $155,000, also funded from public safety surcharge and speed camera net revenue. This is additional funding for the Emergency Operations Center upgrade, the flood mitigation project that we talked about before, the river monitoring, and the street light safety program, as well as street repairs and safety enhancements. Infrastructure projects, thank you. Infrastructure projects are bridge repairs, curb and gutter, sidewalk replacements, sidewalk placements, and these are sidewalks in places where there were no sidewalks previously. Traffic signal upgrades for a total of $255,000. The fleet replacement schedule, the $601,500 is based on the current replacement schedule, and that funding would come from partially from the FY 2017 transfer to the CIP, as well as savings from the local government infrastructure financing program. There are additional purchases that are not currently in the replacement program. These would be additional vehicles, a stake body truck for Parks and Recreation, a van for the police department, and then the vehicle accessories for the police replacement vehicles, and then the replacement vehicles themselves which are funded from the speed camera net revenue. And then we have the facilities projects. This is major facility maintenance for a total of $217,500, which would include the police department parking lot, replacing the gym floor at the DePietro Center, hiker-biker path maintenance, and air conditioning for the server room. So the new projects for FY 2018 would be $2,004,250. The other part of the chart are to reauthorize funds that you previously allocated in prior year CIPs and other amending ordinances. Again, broken down by category. So public safety for 343, 375, 98. Information technology for 666, 495, 24. Park projects for $560,203, 89. And infrastructure projects for $5,845,959, 91. Facility projects for $1,189,328, 29. Fleet acquisition $263,799, 77. And miscellaneous projects of $75,000 for a total of $8,944,314, 314.98. Again, we closed on the most recent local government infrastructure financing program at the end of August of 2016. So that $5,134,000 is very much in play, and those projects are just starting to get going. So that is the bulk of the reauthorization funds were in those street projects.
And we've got fleet acquisition in both.
Right. So the balance on hand in the reauthorization funding of 263.
That's what's left.
Partially be used to fund the upcoming 2018.
But that's not included in the 601, is it?
No.
Or is it part of the 601?
No.
Okay. So the fleet acquisition for these two pieces of paper will total in the neighborhood of $860-some thousand. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, no, that 263 for reauthorization doesn't currently have purchases associated with it, so that will be used to fund the part of the 601.
Part of the 601, that's what I want to make sure.
Part of the new, right,
okay,
I'm sorry.
It's not new money, we're just going to utilize that.
Utilize
roll it into the
old
601.
money.
Okay. Questions of Michelle?
I have none.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. We sure that Laurel, that police department parking lot needs to be resurfaced? They don't have a lot of traffic over there. Just kidding you. And just so I understand, the gym floor over at the Robert J. DePietro Center, this is to strip and repaint, resurface, finish the floor? Not for replacement, is it?
It's not a replacement of the floor. This will be the first time that we completely take all of the, strip it down to its original condition. It's called drumming. We'll go through and look at dead spots and then and then resurface the floor, the existing floor. Typically, this is done, Bill, every 10 years, 10 or 15 years. It has been 25.
Okay, and as I understand it, they will replace, if there's any low places, they go ahead and replace some wood, and when we say drumming, they're going to use big drum sanders on it. That's what they're going to do. Okay, and then they'll recoat it, several coats of poly or whatever they use. Okay, and we go another 25 years? Probably not.
We hope so.
Okay, just so we understand, at some point in time, after you sand these things so much, they have to be replaced. That's when it gets very, very expensive.
Correct.
Okay, just so we all understand, maybe not in my lifetime, but someday, maybe you all will still be here. Okay. So, and we feel pretty good about the $50,000 price?
We do. We do.
Have you gotten some estimates?
Yes, from the company that has been doing our maintenance on it every year.
Okay. How long will the floor be out of use?
No, Bill. Just
a couple weeks, 2 weeks?
And we usually do any of the maintenance that we do at the end of the summer, right after camp ends, before we start our fall season. We have a little bit of downtime where we can move things to the armory or to other facilities so that we try not to have too much of a disruption in the programming.
I know that gym is used an awful lot.
Yes.
Seems every time I go in, there's somebody in the gym shooting baskets or something.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Any questions of Michelle?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ms. Curry.
I believe it was your first page by category, server room AC. Which facility is that in? Or is that all facilities?
It's this facility in the IT department.
And the hiker biker paths?
That's actually used for any that we determine, either riverfront.
That need it?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's it for now.
Thank you, Ms. Curry. Anything else? Thank you, Michelle. You have anything else you want to tell us?
The pie chart that you were given at the mayor's request, having broken down, actually the majority of these categories are the non-departmental, but I also pulled into it the vehicle maintenance budget as well as the utilities, which includes the streetlight maintenance budget. So you can see for the debt service, insurance, employee insurance, retirement and pension contribution, vehicle maintenance and utilities is almost $10 million. And then showing there in the second column the tax rate equivalent. So the debt service is basically the value of 8 cents of the tax rate. The employee insurance is 13 cents. The pension contribution is 9 cents. Vehicle maintenance is 4, and utilities is 3 cents. So these being the expenditures that we many times don't have control over, some of them, but are obligated to pay them. The mayor thought it was important to show and to have this provided of how much of the tax rate this actually takes up.
Okay, so is the budget online right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're going to put this pie chart online too?
We can.
Okay, so is there any further questions of Michelle or any of the staff that's here on the budget? Okay, so the process is that we'll have the second public hearing with possible action on the budget is scheduled for the mayor and city council meeting on Monday, May 22nd at 7 p.m. If anybody watching or listening to this wants to take a look at the budget, it's online, and come on the 22nd and you can ask questions or have your say. And hopefully we'll have passed a budget on the 22nd. And I want to thank the staff for a good job. It's not always pleasant to stand there when you've got people asking questions. So I hope it wasn't too painful. Anything else any of the council would like to say?
Mr. President, this is probably already set in stone, but in the CIP on page 266, under city non-residential, I read this paragraph and it's a bit confusing because it says city non-residential, but it talks about phase 2 of the town center being a 350-unit residential apartment and structured parking. Phase 2 was completed in 2016. And the last sentence says the Evolution Apartments in this same shopping center are under construction with a completion date, a date anticipated in the fall of 2017. That just reads to be a bit confusing to me, but.
Well, I'll ask staff to take a look at that and reword it if necessary.
266.
I don't think.
Well, first of all, it says non-residential, and we're talking about 350 apartment units. So that's.
Okay, we're talking about the Evolution Apartments.
Right.
Which is residential units.
Seems to me.
All right. Staff will take a look at that.
Okay.
Smalls,
I just wanted to bring it to
thank you.
We may need you to amend the CIP because that was probably passed last year with that language.
Yeah, I understand that. We can do that.
That's what I thought.
I think Mr. Smalls made that motion to approve it last year.
I actually did. We saw it. We just didn't tell them. We forgot about it.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, again, I want to thank everybody for a job well done, and we can go home now.